And we continue at 1:06 in the afternoon. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, this morning, the LA City Council seems to be implementing new and probably illegal strategies to keep the gadflies from cursing them out. This is what they did to the guy who we know as Goat Puppet Guy.
All the items and general comment.
Mr. Spin, I'm going to ask, which name did you sign up under?
Who gives a
I wonder what office he's running for.
One of the names.
I do, because we use a random generator to determine, to select people and then determine the order. So which name did you sign up?
They have a new random generator that somehow never picks the gadflies, and then they close public comment before they even get a chance to speak.
Oh, yes. It's like drawings on cruise ship casinos, which they never refer to as random.
So which name did you sign up under?
Required to even sign up to speak at this meeting.
Okay. This is your last chance. Please let us know which name you signed up under so we can make sure the name was called.
Attorney,
or I'm going to say that you're disrupting this meeting. So again, this is your last opportunity. I'm asking you politely.
Wouldn't have this been easier if they just let him pull out his puppet and do his little rant for 2 minutes?
Let Lamb Chop speak.
Which name did you sign up under? It doesn't have to be your real name. Which name did you sign up?
I don't have to sign up to speak at this meeting under the law.
Okay, so again, you've been warned already. I'm going to warn you a second time. You're now disrupting this meeting. We're asking you for the name that you signed up under so that we can run public comment in an orderly fashion. We can't have people jumping the line. So
I'm not jumping the line.
That's it. This is your
I'm
final
not jumping
warning.
the line.
Okay? Please vacate the podium. Or you can let me know which name you signed up under, and we can confirm whether or not it was called.
Give me a name.
Okay. Mr. Spindler, I need you to vacate the podium.
All right.
I'm sorry, you signed up as what?
Is Goat Puppet okay?
Did we call Goat Puppet yet?
I love the fact that they're having this conversation.
Did we call Goat Puppet?
If you're wondering why the city of Los Angeles is such a mess, this is how the council spends their day.
Is Goat Puppet okay?
Did we call Goat Puppet yet? Did the generator...
Yeah, you did. But I don't have to...
Mr. Spindler, this is not your time. Do not disrupt this. Stafford, did we call Goat Puppet already?
Wait, so they're asking a second time?
Yes.
That name was not called, but it is in the queue.
Okay, so...
You also could hear a staffer in the background saying, I just took it off. They're intentionally screwing with public comment, which is going to get them sued. And we know from all the settlements that made the city broke, the city never fights a lawsuit.
Okay, play that back, because if Goat Puppet takes them to court, that clip that we just played is probably going to get the city sued and in trouble.
Stafford, did we call Goat Puppet already?
I just took it off.
That name was not called, but it is in the queue.
Okay, but it was not called yet. Again, for everybody who's here, we use a random generator to determine the order, as that is the most...
Somehow the random generator picked everyone except the people that show up every day to cause disruptions, which is their right.
And they just said on tape that they took the name off.
We use a random generator to determine the order, as that is the most fair way to make sure that people have an equal opportunity to speak. So your name has not been called. Please vacate the podium.
Oh, here we go.
And it's on.
You're disrupting the meeting. This is your first and last warning.
Mr. President, he's actually already been warned twice. So.
All right. So, Mr. Spindler, you're out. Mr. Spindler continues to disrupt the meeting, even though he's been asked to leave.
Whoa! They should have just let him speak.
I wonder if they touched him or the puppet.
He continues to disrupt the meeting.
So, members of the public, we appreciate your continued patience. Again, we have to enforce the rules equally.
It doesn't seem like they're enforcing them equally at all. They're specifically singling out the people that they don't like, which is not how this works.
And he may not know it, but one of his employees just admitted to that.
As everybody else has signed up, we've had their names called. All we did was ask Mr. Spindler to give us the name that he signed up under, and it did not have to be his real name. He refused to do so.
But then he did give you the name he signed up under, Goat Puppet, and you said, oh, we never called it.
And they confirmed that.
Mr. Spindler, we need you to exit the room so that we can continue the meeting.
Okay, who's worse? The gadflies who just want to show up to curse on television, or the members of the city council who get caught lying on live television?
Oh, the members of the city council and the staffers. You can't blame a gadfly for being a gadfly.
No, that's what they do.
And if you want to have more normal people show up at these meetings, don't hold them at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday.
No, but they do that because they don't want the normal people showing up. Because if the normal people showed up, all you would get is you would get people whose homes burned down in the fires, who the city failed, and who are being jerked around by their insurance companies, and the rebuilding process is moving like molasses, and they would make all of the people on the city council look like pariahs.
Did we call Goat Puppet?
We get the government we deserve. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, we all know that the bullet train in California is a great big boondoggle. But there's another project here in the Golden State that also looks like a scam.
That would be the Capitol Annex project, a massive construction project at the state capitol that no one can tell us what exactly it is they're building because everyone's under non-disclosure agreements. And apparently what has been released is that this new building will have secret hallways for lawmakers to run away from Ashley Zavala.
Which is, I'm sure, why they can't give us the details.
And that's why we're so proud to present you more on this story from KCRA 3 and the best Capitol reporter out there, Ashley Zavala.
Why will a new office building for California lawmakers cost as much as an NFL stadium?
Whoa!
Because they're playing with our money and they don't care.
It's going to cost as much as SoFi?
That's a question we've been asking California's legislative leaders overseeing the Capitol Annex project. Live Copter 3 flew over, getting this exclusive look at the progress crews have made. The $1.1 billion project is supposed to cover costs for the office building, parking garage, and a new visitor center.
But it will.
That costs $1 billion?
Well, if you spend like them, yes.
But it will also include private hallways for lawmakers that allow them to avoid the public and avoid us, the media.
Well, it's nice to see that the party of democracy has a supermajority in Sacramento, and they're using their power for the people.
Is the speaker's new office going to have a trap door that they can hit with a button to have the reporters fall?
Or maybe it'll be like Matt Lauer's, where you press the button and the door opens and closes.
KCRA 3 Capitol correspondent Ashley Zavala has been digging into this plan and has an update.
This new office building in Sacramento is going to be one of the most expensive buildings in the United States. And yes, California taxpayers are footing the bill.
It's so funny because Gavin's in this whole fight with all the unions for the other departments in the state that don't want to go back to the office because there's all this empty office space. You could move a lot of the Capitol office space to there, but no, we got to build a big, fancy, useless building.
Well, if they live in an amusement park and they work at an amusement park, the next thing they're going to want to do is get rid of term limits.
Even though the lawsuits against it have been over, the California legislature, which is in charge of it, continues to keep details in the dark. Steel beams are up and construction is underway on the Capitol Annex project. The $1.1 billion construction and counting will eventually house the offices of lawmakers, the governor, and lieutenant governor. It'll cost about as much as Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara.
Okay, here's a question. Is this building going to be that opulent where we're going to have something like the fountains at Bellagio? Or do you think that they just gave the contracts to their buddies and they're just stealing the money and it's going to look like a normal office building?
Option B every single time. What no-bid company got the contract for this one?
And more than the Golden One Center in Sacramento. But we still don't know why or how the money is being spent.
Motion passes.
The legislature's Joint Rules Committee overseeing the project still won't give a public update, even though lawsuits against it have been over for 6 months.
It doesn't look good when you won't even tell the public how this $1 billion is being spent.
Well, they can't, because it would be like all of their other boondoggle projects. If you told the public the details, the public would come unglued.
No one with joint rules would do an interview with us on Monday, but officials confirmed there are now no plans to construct the visitor center on the west side of the historic Capitol.
They don't want visitors.
No, they want to be able to operate in secrecy, just like the LA City Council, which is why they meet when no one can show up.
But even without that part, they said the budget for the project overall won't change. Does that make sense to you?
No, it doesn't.
Dick Cowan is the ex-chairman of the Historic State Capitol Commission and is part of the group that sued over the project.
Among the many questions we have is, what's the project going to cost now?
If it's $1 billion now, it's going to be $2 billion by the time it's done.
Oh, I mean, just look at the bullet train. The number that it started out at is in no way similar to the number it's at now, and I'm sure that number is in no way similar to what it's going to eventually end up being.
Has it continued to rise as it did over the last years? When will the project be complete? They have all that information, probably in a monthly report they receive from the builders, the designers, and the management team.
But information has been tough to get. As we reported last year, more than 2,000 people involved in the project signed non-disclosure agreements.
Gee, what do they need those for?
How is that even legal? Where you put together the shady deal that costs a fortune and no one can give you details because they signed NDAs.
Legally requiring some lawmakers, government officials, and others to keep quiet about what's going on. The cost estimate has more than doubled since 2018, and the NDAs are still in place.
I think this building is already a tremendous strength.
This is one-party rule to a T. There is no oversight, and no one needs to care about anything because nobody is afraid of losing their jobs up there.
And then the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is they get a building where they can avoid the press altogether and the people.
I think this building is already a tremendous strain on taxpayers. And at the end of the day, it's been gone about in a way that has lacked transparency at every step of the way.
The main way we're able to get information lately is through leaks. The latest, the new building will have private hallways for lawmakers, allowing them to avoid the public and media after they debate and vote in hearing rooms.
Because that's what's really important, making sure that you can run away from the microphones when you do something deeply unpopular.
And here's the honest-to-God truth. With all the budget cuts that have happened in the news media, really, maybe one or two newspapers have a presence there. The Sacramento Bee certainly does, and the LA Times does. I guess the Politico and the AP are there as well. But in terms of television, I don't think there are any stations from San Diego or LA that still have bureaus in Sacramento.
No, it's just the Sacramento station. So you'll have Ashley Zavala there for KCRA3, and you'll have Eitan Wallace for Fox 40, and usually that's about it.
Yeah, so you're not talking about a huge population of people that they're trying to avoid. You're talking about a handful.
Multiple sources told KCRA3 the leader of the state Senate, Mike McGuire, confirmed this to a room full of lobbyists earlier this month.
Of course. And by the way, this prize wants to be the next insurance commissioner of California.
If you want that job after all the scrutiny that's been placed on it, it's because you're straight up corrupt.
There has been some hogwash.
He would not do an interview, but confirmed this in a statement. He called the hallways, quote, safe corridors, claiming they have them now in their temporary office building.
See, this is what they always do. They do something shady, and they say it's in the name of safety.
Safe from what? Answering questions?
Pretty much.
He said they are, quote, designed to help ensure the safety and security of lawmakers, which is even more important today, given the events that unfolded on January 6th at our nation's Capitol building.
Oh, boy.
Of course.
So use that as a guise for, I don't want to answer questions from you, Ashley.
I'm surprised he didn't blame it on COVID.
and the active threats public officials continue to face.
I think this is the height of hypocrisy. You are using taxpayer dollars to build a taxpayer-funded facility, and yet you are going to design it in a way that shields you from the public and shields you from accountability.
Now, with those private hallways for lawmakers, we've asked for diagrams, documents, anything that can shine a little more light onto what exactly that entails. We are still waiting to hear back.
They're not going to show Ashley the floor plans.
No, they're not. No, they are not. Because the minute they do that, guess what? It goes from one negative news cycle to negative cycle after negative cycle after negative cycle because they'll find more things in there to talk about.
Project leaders say they do plan to give a public update at some point this year. Reporting at the state capitol, Ashley Zavala, KCRA 3 News.
Officials also saying that the project update will include a new estimated completion date. Also, no information on added costs because of the lawsuit that delayed the construction.
You know, by the time this thing is done, it might cost as much as 2 NFL stadiums.
So it's going to cost over $1 billion. So they have a new building with secret hallways so they could avoid you and the news media. It's going to cost more than that, but they won't tell you what it is, and they won't tell you when it's going to be done. And they signed NDAs, so they're not even legally allowed to. There you have it. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, as we approach the halfway point of today's show, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
Like, let's say you want to go back and listen to even more shenanigans that have been going on at Los Angeles City Council meetings. Well, all you've got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You could download all the episodes, and you can hear nonsense like this.
They cannot continue to bully my body.
Or this.
Did we call Goat Puppet?
Now, for the record, Trisha, who is the excellent booking producer for this program, is efforting to get 3-inch shrimp on this program. 3-inch shrimp, of course, is the gentleman who speaks in front of the LA City Council on a regular basis, usually in song and dance and other languages.
They cannot continue to bully my body.
But as it so happens, 3-inch shrimp is not his legal name.
You don't say.
That is not, in fact, what's on his birth certificate. And he's also not in the book under the name 3-inch shrimp. So she's working all kinds of back channels to try to find contact information for 3-inch shrimp. And when we find that information, we will extend an invitation to put him on this program.
Well, that will be something you don't want to miss. Maybe we do that for sweeps.
Do you think when I ask him questions, he will answer the questions in English?
He might need a translator.
They cannot continue to bully my body.
Or do you think he'll answer the questions in song? Because sometimes he speaks in a foreign language in front of the council, and sometimes he speaks in song.
You know, I got to say, I really don't know how that interview would go. Because what he's doing is obviously trolling the LA City Council, but in an actual interview, he might talk like a totally normal guy.
I bet you he's very fluent in all the subject matter in front of the LA City Council.
Especially about what's going on Figueroa.
Well, we know about that.
Oh, we got to go.
Well, we know that the former district attorney of Alameda County, Pamela Price, is extremely angry that she got dumped by voters. And now she has a podcast that's all about her getting even.
She called me a crime boss.
Pamela Price just dropped the latest episode of her podcast, and now she's going after the Oakland chapter of the NAACP because they're racist.
She lives in quite a world.
Everything is grievance. Everyone's out to get her. She's really pissed off at the media. She's really pissed off at the recallers. She's pissed off at everybody.
What do you think it would be like to be married to her?
Insufferable. Pammy, what's today's episode about?
She won't prosecute cases.
Oh, I got to save that one.
I'll tell you, she was an awful district attorney, but I would pay money to hear her read the phone book.
Well, maybe, a lot of these podcasters, they end up doing live events. Maybe she'll do a live remote at the Yuck Hut, and we can go be in the first row.
Well, what's that website where you can hire famous people to give you birthday greetings?
You think Pamela Price is on Cameo?
I'd do it on my birthday.
She won't prosecute cases. One of the main fear-mongering narratives of Project 2025.
Oh, we're at that again.
I can't wait till she gets to the Illuminati.
Used to attack progressive prosecutors is the false narrative that we won't prosecute cases.
It's not really a narrative. It's what you said you were going to do, and it's what you did. It's what Gascon did, and it's what Chesa Boudin did. And what do you know? All three of you are out of office.
That was basically taken from her campaign website.
She won't prosecute cases.
You won't. You didn't. And that's why you're gone.
And now you're a podcaster.
In Alameda County, this conservative talk.
Do you think any advertisers have approached her yet?
I don't know, but I would love to hear her do a live read.
Usually when you're just starting out in the podcast sphere, the only advertisers that want to touch you are for marital aids. I'm Pamela Price for AdamandEve.com.
In Alameda County, this conservative talking point was amplified by none other than the Oakland branch of the NAACP.
The Oakland NAACP are a bunch of right-wing racists.
They're in on it, too.
That branch has often been aligned with the Alameda County Republican Party under the leadership of Bishop Bob Jackson, a prominent black Republican. In July of 2023, the Oakland NAACP published an open letter under the leadership of Bishop Bob Jackson, Terry Wiley, and Lauren Taylor, both who lost their races in 2022, declaring to the world that as district attorney, I was unwilling, quote, to charge and prosecute people who murder and commit life-threatening serious crimes.
We have the receipts. It was a year and a half of nothing but that.
That's not even an opinion. That's a provable fact.
Ironically, the Oakland NAACP branch made this malicious allegation without ever talking to me or any one of the members.
You don't sound that approachable, lady.
No. In fact, how many people did we put on this program who tried to meet with her? Victims or people who were involved with the recall, who wanted FaceTime with her, who couldn't get FaceTime with her, and that's what led them to the recall?
We talked to Brenda Grisham, who was a crime victim, who she wouldn't take calls from, who now Pamela Price crassly refers to on her social media as one of the two Brendas, being Brenda Harbin Forte and Brenda Grisham. She celebrated Barbara Lee's win by saying the two Brendas lost. She is the most vindictive, hateful person in Alameda County.
I wonder if Barbara Lee will find a place for her in her administration.
Don't even put that out into the ether, because she's thinking about it.
Could you imagine if Barbara Lee made her the next police chief or something?
Or any one of the members of my executive leadership team who happen to be primarily well-accomplished black lawyers and professionals.
You mean the ones that stayed that you didn't fire because they didn't agree with you? Or how about the fact that when it comes to the narcotics office, you had no executive in charge, so nobody could actually file cases for drugs in Alameda County?
Oops.
This soft on crime allegation was not based on any data because there was none available.
Do you think she actually believes that?
Oh, she's a true believer in her own BS. I'll tell you that. She is so unbelievably angry because it is not even possible for her for 1 second to think that her ideology was wrong.
I have a prediction, and this is just my opinion, so I'm not making an allegation I'm just telling you what I think. She is so narcissistic, and she is so wrapped up in her being dumped by voters. I bet you online she has about 1 million aliases, and she's tweeting about her, and she's commenting about her in the comment section on newspaper articles 24/7.
Oh, I guarantee she's doing that.
The district attorney's office did not have a credible system to track charges or cases when we got there.
Yes, but the news media had all of your public statements about how you did not want to charge cases.
And they would interview the victims.
I mean, she literally sat down for an interview with KPIX TV and said, you don't understand, the suspects are oftentimes the real victims.
The source for a lot of this is her.
Pleas, convictions, sentences, dismissals, or acquittals are recorded in the court's records, not tracked or recorded by the district attorney's office. In the absence of data, right-wing operatives and the...
This is Alameda County. What gigantic phantom right-wing operatives are out there?
This is the same area that elected and reelected Barbara Lee for decades.
In the absence of data, right-wing operatives and the media relied upon anecdotal cases.
I love how the media is solely out to get her. And she claims it's for clicks. Has nothing to do with the grassroots effort that started in Chinatown because of all the victims of crime that you weren't doing anything about.
The kids at Coachella should have been taken, whatever it is that she's on.
A handful of cases were sensationalized, and the survivors of homicide victims were easily weaponized in their grief.
Well, they were the ones calling for your head.
You see, this is how it works. She thinks that it is the news media that's harassing these people and beating on their door and waking them up in the middle of the night and forcing them to go out and say things they don't believe in. When in reality, the way it works is when one of your relatives is murdered and you feel like you're not getting justice, you're the one that goes to the news media because you're trying to drum up attention because you believe an injustice has taken place.
To call for the harshest possible punishment, regardless of the circumstances. In one very high-profile case, the media and the right-wing operatives attacked us.
What right-wing operatives?
You notice she never identifies them by name.
It is a boogeyman straw man tactic. They're all out to get her. Who? We don't know. This is the kind of paranoia that meth users face on a daily basis, and I don't think she's on meth. This is on her own nonsense.
Can you believe that this person had the power to put someone in jail?
This is why 60% of the county said you got to go.
Attacked us for, quote, failing, close quote, to prosecute an innocent man. We were wildly accused of racism and favoritism based on race and being insensitive to the family that survived and witnessed the terrible attack that accidentally killed their loved one. When the judge threw the case against the wrong man out, no one made note of the fact that my predecessor had actually charged the wrong man, an innocent man, with murder and incarcerated him for a period of years. This happened in multiple cases. When the facts...
Everything was my predecessor's fault and everything else is my successor's fault. I didn't do anything wrong. I was the best at my job. And the reason I got kicked out was because you're all racist.
Do you think she's going to go away, or do you think she's going to run for office for the rest of her life?
I think she's going to scream into that microphone, and you know what? She might run again. I don't know if she could win, but she's going to scream into this microphone every day, and I'm going to be the only one listening to it.
When the facts got in the way of the false narrative, the recallers just dropped that case and moved on to the next one.
Does she understand who organized the recall?
No, I don't think she does. And if she does understand, she convinced herself that it's some other group.
It was a collection of victims of crimes, horrible crimes, that she ignored. that she wouldn't take their phone calls. She wouldn't meet with them. It's the same exact thing that happened with Chesa Boudin. By the way, both of those originated in the Chinatowns, where that whole group was being completely ignored by the DA. And we had several attempts to recall Gascon in Los Angeles. They failed because of grifters, but ultimately he got killed in the last election. They're all gone for the same reason. They all vowed to not do their jobs, and the result was a disaster.
This also goes to show you, because she was elected at the same time as Chesa Boudin and George Gascon. What a wild time it was in this country during the BLM riots, when George Soros felt emboldened to go finance all of these campaigns, and all of these lunatics were all endorsed by the newspapers, and people who know better endorsed them because they felt like they would be targets themselves if they didn't go out and endorse the nuts. So all the nuts got the endorsements from the newspapers and the Democratic Party and the politicians and everyone who typically, they're the gatekeepers to keep the nuts out of these offices, or at least make them half a nut. And that cycle, we got full-blown king and the queens of the cashews elected to all of these offices, and they had the power to take freedom away from people. They had the power to throw you in prison. And I think because you see them in that office and you say, okay, well, they're the district attorney. So even though they've said some spicy things in the past, or they've taken some out there positions in the past, they're now the DA, and they're just going to act like any normal DA. And that never happened with these people. It seems like the crazy just got worse as the power got to their head. They never took their foot off the gas pedal.
Throughout my tenure as the first black female district attorney in Alameda County, the media questioned my every move.
Because you were saying crazy things and had crazy policies. Even things as simple as you forced everyone in your office to refer to you as Madam District Attorney.
I think I told you, I was up there when the Angels were playing the A's right after she got elected. And it was a weird thing because there was a game on Thursday, there was no game on Friday, and then they had a game on Saturday and a game on Sunday. And the reason, apparently, that there was no game on that Friday was that she had the Coliseum rented out so she could do a retreat with her office where she did things like pass out social justice coloring books where she wanted them to color in the coloring books all together. And they participated in all these wacko exercises.
Oh, I remember that. And then she got into a huge fight with ABC 7's Dan Noyes because she refused the media to attend that event.
It was wild.
And attacked my right to use my prosecutorial discretion as if I was too big for my britches.
I could go on and on and on, but I think you get the point. Every week, it's another rant. Everyone's out to get her. She is the angriest, most paranoid person in the entire Bay Area. And thank goodness the voters of Alameda County kicked her out of office.
I almost want to show up to the unemployment line in Alameda County to see her standing there. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Will writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com and says, unlike sidewalk passerbys who are forced to listen to the ramblings of a drug-addled Alameda County bum, nobody has to listen to Pamela Price talk about priceless. Pamela's podcast is so priceless, it literally isn't worth the cloud storage space, which is typically free.
Okay, if that's how crazy she is for public consumption, what do you think private meetings were like with her in that office?
She won't prosecute cases.
I bet you the level of crazy had to be an 11 out of 10 because that podcast is a 9 or a 10 out of 10.
Well, and she does this as a video podcast, so if you look it up on YouTube by searching for Pamela Price, she is staring so intently into the camera, it looks like a hostage video while she says all these insane things.
Oh, yeah. When she makes eye contact with the camera, she looks like a serial killer. All right, let's go to Sarah in Santa Clarita. Sarah, hello.
Hi there. I jumped into my car late in your interview that you were doing with the DA, and I'm pretty sure she said anecdotal stories instead of anecdotal, and I was just surprised you guys let that slide. I don't know if you want to check me. You might want to check back.
I think you're
100%
totally
sure.
right, Sarah. I think you're totally right. There's just so many nonsensical things that she said. It got right past us. But you're right. I looked at it. She says anecdotal.
Yeah. You would think that a DA would know better, but apparently not.
I think she is so blinded by rage in this podcast, I don't think she knows what she's saying.
She won't prosecute cases.
And, of course, everyone's favorite.
She called me a crime boss.
Maybe she's like Don King and she just makes words up.
Every Tuesday, a new episode. Give her a follow on YouTube. Otherwise, I'm the only one.
You're one of 5 people that listens to it and the only one that enjoys it.